Welcome to our today's presentation on computer studies 451/1, that is the theory paper. I'm your facilitator today, and my name is Angela Musyoki. Welcome. Then those are some of the terms. Then next, we are looking at techniques of answering questions. The first technique that I would advise candidates to do is to start by answering the easier questions first. Why? When you start by answering the easier questions first, this one gives you some level of confidence because you know, at least you know something in that paper, and then you have a lot of confidence even to approach the other questions which might seem to be challenging to you. Then another technique when you are answering questions in the exam is that you are supposed to give the required number of points. Like for example, if you are told state 3, you are supposed to give exactly 3. Giving more points, let's say like giving 5 points, it might be a waste of time because the points that are required are only 3. So it's advisable to candidates that they should start by giving their strong points first, because if you give 5, only the first 3 are considered, the rest are ignored. The other technique of answering your questions is that you avoid the use of don't in answering your questions. Like for example, in a case where you are told to give the differences between the graphical user interface and the command line interface. Like for example, this is a candidate who says, graphical user interface is user-friendly, and on the side of command line, the candidate says the command line is not, or it's not user-friendly. That is not a correct answer. If it is not user-friendly, then what it is? The candidate should say command line, the graphical user interface is user-friendly, and on the side of command line, it should say it is difficult to remember commands in the command line interface. So you should avoid the word don't or not, because you should actually say the real point in that answer. Then again, you should avoid incomplete or hanging answers. If it's a statement that you are writing, write as complete statement. And again, if your answer needs some level of qualifying your answer, you should be able to qualify your answer so that you are able to score a point there. Another technique in answering your questions, because definitely in our paper, that's 451/1, sometimes you will be required to do calculations. Like for example, a question from the data representation in a computer whereby you are told to perform the following calculation using 1's complement or using 2's complement, or maybe you are converting a number from one number system to another. You are supposed to outline or to show all your steps clearly. The steps should start from the first step all the way to the last step. Don't do your calculation in your mind and put down the answer, because at that point you might miss some marks that are meant for some steps. So it is always good to outline all the steps or all the procedures of your calculation properly. Then in question 16, in a case of an algorithm, that is either a flowchart or a pseudocode that will require you as a candidate to give an output, it is actually advisable that the candidate writes a dry run, which is of great importance. A dry run is actually like a process again that shows where you are starting from all the way to the last step where you are required to get your answer. Again here, don't dry run a flowchart or a pseudocode in your mind and then you give the answer. You are supposed to show how are you getting to the final answer. That is, how are you getting to the output that is required in that algorithm. That is a pseudocode or a flowchart. Again, another technique is a question where you are given a case, a diagram, or a table. The candidate is supposed to base the answer in that table or that diagram. Like, for example, looking at this diagram in our case, that says that this figure, that is figure 4, shows an advert that is placed in a newspaper. And then you are told to use it to answer the questions that follow. So when you read this advert, you are seeing that there are new arrivals of laptop computers. The specs are, you have the HDD, 300 GB, there's RAM, there's 512 MB, that is 512 MB. The clock speed is given. We have optical drives, we have that DVD, we have the screen, which is 17 inches, and you are told there are other PCs that are available. But on the other side of the table, that's on column 2, you're also given other specs, like the operating system is Windows 8 Home Edition. There are other programs, that is free suite, which is word processor, spreadsheets. There's also DTP, and there's a presentation software, there's internet browser, there's email, and then there's the presence of keyboard, mouse, modem, and parallel port, USB port, and serial port. Then the questions are as follows. State the software package in the free suite, which is most suitable for each of the following. Like, for example, computing gadgets. When we get back to our table, when we look at the free suite where we have the word processors and the rest, the right answer here for the application that is suitable for computing budgets is spreadsheets. As a candidate, because you know different examples of spreadsheets, like there's Excel and the rest, at this point, the table has given you spreadsheets. It has not given you the examples of spreadsheets. So the right answer here is spreadsheets. What is on the table, not the Excel and other examples of spreadsheets. Again, like here when we have creating budgets, like the example here that is used in the table is word processor. You should not start by saying Microsoft Word and other examples of word processors. The correct answer here is word processor. The next one is designing brochures, and whatever is given here in our advert is DTP. So that is the correct answer that you are supposed to give based on the table that is given. So the next what you can also use to answer questions is that the candidate can give acronyms. And these acronyms are standard acronyms, the ones that are accepted. The candidate is not supposed to start by creating his own acronyms. So let's say, like, for example, in a question like, explain 3 coding schemes used in computing. Let's say, like, there's this candidate who says BCD. And there's another one you saying binary coded decimal. All those 2 are correct. BCD is accepted. ASCII is also accepted. EBCD, it's also right. And then after you state those ones, now you move on and you start giving more explanations on the BCD. You give more explanation on the ASCII, and you also give more explanations on the EBCD. Okay? So that now you are able to score. Let's say, like, for example, this is a question that can be awarded 6 marks, each point 2 marks, whereby you state the coding scheme and then the explanation. Stating BCD, you explain it uses the number of bits are these, you state ASCII, you give the number of bits, you state the other one, which is EBCD, and then you give the number of bits. At that point, you are correct. Again, if you are also comfortable with giving full names, you can as well do so, because you are also right. Then I would also like to advise candidates on the part that is choice of questions in section B. This part requires a lot of proper analysis. Question 17, 18, 19, and 20. You are supposed to choose 3 out of those 4. As a candidate, it's not good to start answering just the questions before doing an analysis of which questions you find good for you and which question do you find more challenging. I would advise the candidate to leave the question that is challenging. So you should check question 17. How many marks can I score this? Question 18, the same. How many marks am I able to score? Question 19, how many marks am I able to score? And question 20, how many marks am I able to score? So in that case, out of those 4 questions, you will find that there is one of the questions that you might be in a position to score low marks in that question. It is my advice that question that you are likely to score less marks, avoid it. Do the 3 questions that you are comfortable with. As a candidate, don't see that like question 17, you know section A, which is just 2 marks. And then the rest you don't know. And then because you know 17, 2 marks, you start answering that. That is not advisable. It is always good to go to answer the questions that you are comfortable with in section B. Now, in case you answer all the questions in section B, that is, in case you answer 17, you answer 18, you answer 19, and you also answer 20. Still do an analysis, and then you cancel the question that you don't intend to be marked. What will happen if you answer all the questions? Question 20 will not be considered. The first 3, that is 17, 18, and 19, are the ones that are going to be considered in the final score. So it is always good to know that you are supposed to do 3 questions. That is 17, 18, 19, and 23 questions out of that, which will give you 45, plus the 15 of question 16, that gives you 60, plus the 40 of question A, that gives you 100%. Then another technique as you answer or as you put down your points, avoid writing the same answer in different words. Let's say like point 1, you are saying this one, and point 2, you put the same answer in different words. Let's say like an example of this question. State 2 reasons for the increased use of laptop computers in government offices. One of the correct answers is that laptop computers are portable. That's point 1. What if you say in point 2 that laptop computers are easy to carry? That is one and the same point. So avoid writing the same point in different words, because that's what we call repetition. You are just repeating the same point but using different wordings. Another technique is that you are supposed to avoid breaking one point into many points. Like, for example, in such a question like, state the causes of fire in a computer laboratory. One causes of fire in a computer laboratory is what we call electrical faults. Electrical faults it's a phrase that has so many other points that you can break into. Like, for example, if we talk of overloaded sockets, if we talk of naked wires, those are all electrical faults. So if you put, let's say like point 1, naked wires, point 2, you say overloaded sockets. That's just one point. So don't break down your one point into so many other points, which can also mean which are also carried on the point that you have put.